Welcome, everybody, to another Western Canadian Reason webinar. Our webinars are free to attend, but you know that we are a volunteer-run group, so we rely on support of our community. So if you can, please donate. You can scan the QR code or go to our website at rockymountaiнаtheist.ca, and you'll find the donate button there. Any amount helps us keep on going. Quick disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed by speakers and audience members during this event are their own and do not reflect the official policies, positions, or views of our organization. We are an inclusive community of atheists, humanists, skeptics, and secular freethinkers. Everyone is welcome to our webinars. We have a few guidelines though. Respect all participants and viewpoints. Keep comments and questions on topic. The discussion is encouraged, of course, but civility is required. We've never had any disruptions, and please let's keep it that way. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a Q&A. You can use the hand-raising icon on the reactions to ask a question. Wait until you're called to unmute, and keep questions concise and relevant to the topic. Tonight, we have the pleasure of having with us again Kenny Biddle. We love having you here, Kenny. Thank you very much. He is a ghost hunter, a science-based investigator, writer, producer, video, and podcast host. And he'll be talking to us about the flaws of ghost hunting gadgets, why they don't find ghosts. And now I'll stop sharing so Kenny can start his presentation.
Alrighty then, let's
When you're
see
ready.
if this works. All right. Do you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. So, yes, my talk is about the flaws of ghost hunting gadgets, why they don't find ghosts. And you got a little taste of who I am already. So, I'll go briefly over this just in case this is the first time that we're meeting. I've been investigating paranormal claims for almost 30 years. I have a background in the automotive industry, the aerospace industry, also medical fields, and photography and video editing. I've done a lot over my life, and I've learned a lot of good, useful skills, which hopefully I can pass on some of them to you guys. I started freelancing for Skeptical Inquirer in 2013. I was elected a CSI Fellow in 2020, which was awesome, one of my life achievements. I'm very proud of that. I host a weekly live stream show every Friday night called the Skeptical Health Bar, and that opens the door for anyone, skeptics or believers, to come in and just have a social environment where they can ask questions and we have discussions, nice conversations. I started freelancing videos, creating videos and producing videos for Skeptical Inquirer in 2021. And then the following year, I was hired full time to replace Joe Nickel when he retired as their chief investigator. So this is what I do for a living, which is awesome. I got to tell you, I love doing this. Um, I host lectures and workshops across the country. I speak at both science and paranormal themed conferences, which I love going both sides and straddling the fence and doing that science communication to everyone. I talk about investigation techniques, equipment breakdowns, critical thinking, and more. So, tonight we're going to be talking about ghost hunters, and they love their gadgets. I got to tell you, they love them. They love showing them off in videos. They love displaying them during conferences. They love making them the focus of their TV shows and YouTube videos. They just absolutely love the gadgets. But we're going to talk about what they usually fail to consider. And these are some of the things listed on screen. Sometimes they fail to consider how the gadgets actually operate, like what they're really used for. And that's kind of important to know. They also forget sometimes, or they fail to consider what the gadgets really measure. There's this tribal knowledge that goes through the ghost hunting community where they learn mostly from TV shows that are for entertainment. They don't learn the science behind it. They just see what they do on TV and they want to do the same thing because it looks cool. So that's what they do. They fail to consider what kind of controls need to be in place when using all of these gadgets, especially when they're trying to measure environmental conditions and they have no controls over the inside or outside or whatever, and anything can influence their results. They usually fail to consider how to properly interpret the results and readings that they get from these devices. Some of them are actual gadgets. Some are custom made, which you will see for ghost hunters. And they honestly serve no purpose except to light up and beep and make for good television. And we'll get into that a little bit. And then finally, they fail to consider the flaws of the gadgets themselves. And that's what we're going to talk about. Today, we're going to look at 9 of the most popular ghost hunting gadgets in use today. There's a lot more, but I cut it down to 9 so we could fit in the time frame. These will be brief overviews, and when I say brief, it doesn't really mean brief because I can't talk briefly about anything. I talk forever, and you guys probably know that from the last time I talked to you guys. So let's just jump into some of these gadgets. The basic format for each of these gadgets, I will give you the common claim, which you see up top, and then we'll go into some of the issues with each gadget. So electromagnetic field meters. These are EMF detectors. Basically, the common claim is that ghosts can manipulate and or interact with electromagnetic fields, creating disturbances that can be detected by these meters. And they are often used as communication devices. They leave the devices out on a table or on the floor somewhere, and they ask ghosts questions like, "Are you here?" And if any of the lights go up or the numbers change on the meter, they get excited because the ghost hunters think that is a sign of a ghost. There are some issues with it. First and foremost, this is a theme that's going to run through the entire list. There is no scientific evidence whatsoever that links changes in the electromagnetic fields to ghosts and spirits or anything like that. There is no science to back up this idea. It's more of a tribal belief kind of thing where it's been passed on from ghost hunter to ghost hunter, and they just believe that these devices connect, but they don't do anything. Most meters measure the magnetic field produced by electrical wiring, electronics, appliances, and of course magnets. It's Some ghost hunters believe that they measure both electric fields and magnetic fields, but even though there are meters that do that, they usually have to switch back and forth. But the common ones that you see here, the gray and the black models up top, and then the 2 items down below with the clear body that says ghost meter, they are only picking up the magnetic field that's created when electricity flows through wiring. And it's one of the big things is that these meters, except for the tri-field meter, the one that says tri-field, the rest of these meters are single axis meters. And that means it's only reading one axis at a time. And it needs to be spun or rotated on all 3 axes in order to get an average reading, an accurate reading of the environment. And this is important because for most ghost hunters, when they go to a location, the first thing they do is to take what they call base readings. And they will literally take a meter. Let me see. I'm going to use this as a meter. They usually walk into a room, they walk around the room and then come back out in a matter of like a minute. And they think that they have captured the base reading. So they know the readings they should get in that room, no matter what the time of day or night, or no matter what the conditions in the house. And that's simply not true. One of the things that stands out is that, again, orientation of the meter is important because I can have, so this right here you see in my hand, this is a EMF meter, okay? So I can hold it right here. You should hear it beeping. There it goes. You should hear that beeping. But if I rotate this, now it's not working right. I practiced this. All right, there it goes. So I can turn it and then rotate it, it stops beeping. Rotate it, beeping, and then rotate it, and it stops. It's in the same spot. It has not moved. And what this is reacting to is there's a fan. I have a fan over here that's running. And if I came around and just did this, it doesn't go off. But if I get close to it, it will sound the alarm, depending on how I hold this. And this is a mistake that most ghost hunters do because the data that they believe that they're collecting to base everything that happens the rest of the night on is completely invalid from the start, and they don't usually realize that. One last thing for EMF meters is that these meters measure the strength of the magnetic field. It doesn't tell you what frequency. Like here in the US, we have 60 hertz main power, and then in other countries they have 50 hertz main power. So these are calibrated to 50, 60 hertz. So these aren't going to tell you what frequency it's picking up. It's only telling you how strong that field is. And if you're walking down a hallway and you have electrical wiring on one side of the hall and electrical wiring on the other side of the hall, and you're walking down the middle, you're getting an overlapping field. So you're not getting an accurate reading, you're getting an average of those two fields, which is something to consider when you're trying to collect data and map out the area. All right, moving on. REM pods. This is another gadget that ghost hunters love. Um, these, uh, these came on the scene about 15 years ago, and the common claim is that REM pods emit an electromagnetic field around the antenna. And when a ghost interrupts that field, it triggers the lights in the alarm. So the first thing, like I have one here. So the first thing you should know is that there's a false statement in that claim. And this is a common claim that REM pods emit an electromagnetic field around this antenna, but it doesn't. It actually doesn't do that at all. Because if you look at the two pictures below the REM pod, you can see that there are 4 EMF meters surrounding the REM pod when it's triggered. The lights are on the REM pod on the top here, and the alarm is sounding. You can't hear it because it's a picture. But if you notice these meters, they're all reading 0. So they're not reading any magnetic field whatsoever. And I have them in different positions because I'm covering all 3 axes to make sure, because they're all single axis meters. So I'm making sure that there is none. And the reason behind this is that um, these are actually basically capacitors. That's what's inside this. It's a little do-it-yourself kind of electronics capacitor, and 2/3 of the capacitor is inside here. There's one side, a grounding plate. There's the storage where it stores power from the battery inside of it, and then the other storage plate of this capacitor is your hand. So you need some kind of grounding object, which is your hand. And as you get close to the antenna, this is going to sound annoying. Um, But as you get close to the antenna, hopefully you hear this. The it allows more power to go through, the more it grounds to you, and that triggers it. Um, so the one thing, well, one of the flaws is that they're highly sensitive to nearby objects and people. So if you get close to it, it could go off. If you have wireless microphones, because this is something to consider when you see ghost hunters on TV and there's reporters, and even the ghost hunters are mic'd up, they're using wireless mics, and that will set this off because radio frequency is a good trigger for these objects. So if I turn this on, I'm going to put this down. Hopefully it stops. But I turn this on. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But now I'm manipulating that REM pod. I'm making it light up. I'm making it sound the alarm just by pushing the button. Oh, they're so noisy. Um, I can do that from 30 to 40 feet away. And I can also do it through walls. So imagine if many ghost hunters or ghost hunting shows or YouTube videos, they show devices like this. And usually they put the camera almost on that. Like that's it. All you see is this, or you see a wider view where it's in the room by itself. And it's easy for someone to be off camera with a two-way radio and just keying it up once or twice. And it'll just make this chirp, or it'll go off for a long chirp or a long tone. And it simulates triggering this object. So that's one of the big problems with this. And if you want to control this, the best thing you can do with this or even EMF detectors is put it in a Faraday box. So a good Faraday box, well-constructed Faraday box, will block radio frequencies, radio AM, FM, and then from 2A radios, and it won't let the signals get to this device, which that's what I suggest ghost hunters do, but they never do it because then it's no fun. It's it's no fun because it never goes off after that. Um, what's inside this is a Junior Thurman device, which is this. That comes in a kit. You can pick this up for about $20 online, and it basically looks like this when you're done. It's a one circuit board. It's got a speaker right there, which is what you hear when it goes off. These lines connect to LEDs, and this is the antenna. So it's really cheap. This is made for kids. It's a do-it-yourself electronics kit for kids to learn how to put electronics together and solder. Um, Again, you can pick this up for 20 bucks, and these things sell between 60 and $200, um, just because it's marketed to ghost hunters. So that's a big profit margin there. All right, moving on. Motion sensors. So motion sensors are two kind of motion sensors up here, but the common claim here is that they detect invisible movement through heat or sound in areas thought to be empty of humans. And this is taken as if they go off, it must be a ghost because there's nobody in that area and these things are being triggered. So a few things with this is that these devices can be triggered by physical movement, airflow, air drafts, small animals, humidity, temperature changes, vibrations in the floor. There's no ghost required. You don't need any kind of supernatural reason for these things to go off. There's a lot already in nature that will make it go off. And as I mentioned, there's two types here. We have a infrared, which is also PIR, which stands for passive infrared sensors that detect heat. And they detect heat and the movement of heat. They don't actually detect physical movement directly. So that means that, like, if the wall behind me, if the sensor is looking at the wall, that wall is all pretty much one temperature because it's ambient temperature. So if a book in this wall here, these shelves, were to come out and move down the shelf a little bit and go into another slot, these sensors wouldn't pick it up because it's all the same temperature. However, if you have a body, like somebody walks in front of it and they have a lot more heat than the ambient temperature of the books, it'll see that heat and it'll see that heat changes position and it'll trigger the alarm going off. But several things can make that go off. Sudden temperature changes, direct sunlight, if somebody opens the curtains, or if the sun finally moves over like an hour or two and a beam of sunlight comes through, it'll heat up like the floor or the wall or even the windows that these devices might be pointed at. Heating vents, AC vents, anything that's blowing out hot or cold air, or even your radiators or radiators, depending on where you're from, when they heat up or cool down, that temperature change will trigger these. Reflected heat. That means like anything that's like if you have the stove on or the oven on and it's going up into the oven hood, that'll trigger it up, something like that. So there's lots of things in the environment that will trigger these. The other type of sensor is called the ultrasonic sensor, and they respond to physical objects or movements that affect sound waves. So it doesn't respond to heat or light or any kind of spiritual energy. It's based on ultrasonic signals. So these things, which I have the one that's pictured here, Paraforce, uh, this uses a ultrasonic sensor, which is in right in the front here. It's actually a transceiver. So this sends out an ultrasonic signal out to an object. It's reflected back. This receives it, and it measures the time of flight. So basically, how long it takes for the signal to come out, hit the object, and then come back. That's what's called time of flight. And if there's any change in that, even milliseconds, it will register as movement. The thing with this is these sensors are the cheapest ones you can find on the market. I was able to talk to a representative of these sensors here, these ultrasonic sensors, and he made he didn't try to sugarcoat it at all. He just said these were the bottom of the barrel stuff. They make these for toys. They're not reliable. They're not for industrial use, for proper measurements. They are more for fun and for people that want to tinker with little toys like this. Um, Same with the passive infrared things. If you look at the coffin picture on top, you can see that little, well, for lack of a better word, little clear whitish nipple that's in the front. That's the sensor. And you'll find the same sensors on Halloween decorations that you find at like Michael's and Halloween stores when the season's out. Any kind of motion sensor like that uses the same type of sensor. Uh, the problem with these ones, the ultrasonic ones, is that this has to be pointed directly at a wall that's perpendicular to it so that the signal reflects back. If you point it to the side where it's on an angle, it's not going to work. It's because the signal is going to reflect off the wall and then go that way instead of coming back towards this source. Um, Other things like humidity in the air, if there's fog rolling in, if there's a mist, if it's raining, that will affect it because the signal bounces off the moisture in the air and will screw up the signal and cause this to go off. High frequency sounds will trigger this. I was able to trigger this with my keys, my car keys. I have a bunch of keys that I have house key, work keys and stuff. And if I jingle it behind this thing, it makes it go off. The same can be said when you take it to like an old abandoned prison or jail, or any place that has metal doors on metal hinges. The squeaking when they move and the friction will cause high frequency sound to be emitted, and it will affect these sensors. So lots of flaws with this stuff um, that ghost hunters do not take into account because most of the time, again, they're in it for the fun and for the excitement. All right, I'm going to move on to the most embarrassing piece of equipment that I have to talk about because I can't believe I'm talking about cat balls. It's just, it kills me that I have to talk about this stuff. But these came out a few years ago. There was a ghost hunter that uh, uh, promoted these. He was selling them, and he was selling them as something that he custom made. So he described them as having an accelerometer inside of it, that it had upgraded batteries, and it had upgraded all other components, and that he sold them as the vibration activated light sphere, which is the picture at the top left of your screen. It's underneath the ball. It says Des Tech. So Cody Desmond was the guy that was selling them. He was ordering them from a company, and I found out after I investigated this that he was ordering from the same company that made the cat balls that you see right next to it. So you see the LED motion activated cat balls. They are the same exact product. The only difference is the card that's in the package. That's the only difference. It contains a cheap tilt sensor, which is pictured. That's the blue ribbon around the red plastic item there. So basically, it's a small metal ball between two plates. It's separated by plastic as insulation. But anytime that ball jumps around and makes contact, it triggers the LEDs inside these balls. I have one here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get it to. I don't know. There it goes, flashing. So that's what it looks like when it's set off. But I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this. I'm going to put it next to the microphone and I'm going to shake it. If you hear that little tap, 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 that's the little ball that's inside going back and forth. Now, depending on the orientation of this ball, that sensor that you see there could be vertical. And if it's vertical, any little vibration from footsteps to traffic outside will cause the ball to pop a little bit. And every time it loses contact and regains, it sets off the LEDs. And I mean, this, it can roll, it could be vibrated. I mean, if your cat, I have it up here, if your cat or dog walks by and farts, it will go off. And honestly, my little dog, I have a little miniature schnauzer, and when she would walk by these, they would go off all the time. So the activation does not mean a ghost touched it. it means it probably had some kind of vibration hit it. But they people love these things. The ghost hunters love these things. I can't tell you how many videos I watched where there's 3 or 4 of these things set up all over. I just went to a house in Atchison, Kansas. It was called the McIntyre Villa, and it's a nice big mansion with about a dozen rooms. And excuse me, there's at least one in every single room because the homeowner thinks that they talk to ghosts or ghosts can talk to you through these things. Um, one last thing before I move on that, well, actually, 2 last things. You can pick up cheap versions of this at Walmart or drugstores. I picked up 2 larger versions of this for $1. So 2 for $1. And I say that because the from the company, from the manufacturer, these cost 98 cents to produce and they sell it for 98 cents. So you can buy this for less than $1. The ghost hunter that was selling them, or excuse me, reselling them to his fellow ghost hunters was charging $11 for them. So that's a 1,000% profit that he was making off of these things. When he told them it had an accelerometer in it, it doesn't. It's just got a cheap tilt sensor. It doesn't have an accelerometer. And when I talked to the guy, because I talked to the ghost hunter that sold these, he didn't actually know what an accelerometer was, which just the fraud. All right. So moving on. Digital voice recorders. So the common claim here is that using an audio recorder, ghost hunters record short sessions of themselves asking either general or specific questions of the spirits and ghosts. And then they listen to the playback. And when they listen, they're listening for any kind of response, anything that's in between their questions or sometimes overlapping their questions. There's some issues with this, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. Many EVPs, which this is what this called, EVPs stands for electronic voice phenomena. That's a ghost hunter's way of making it sound fancier and more scientific, even though it's not. So many of these sounds that they record, they're likely background noise. Noises caused by the ghost hunters themselves when they're moving around, they're shifting, their clothes are causing friction, and that noise transfers to the microphone. Stomach growling is a big concern because ghost hunters, for the most part, the ones that I've hung out with, eat like crap. They eat horrible food, so they get gas later on at night, or they don't eat dinner and then their stomach starts growling. So either way, they got some kind of growling noise that go on. And when you're in a dark room, in a mostly abandoned building, you hear stomach growls from all over the place. There's other things like coughing and sneezing and whispering. I can't tell you how many times groups will tell everyone in the beginning, don't whisper. Or they'll tell if they're doing like a pay to play kind of event where they have other people coming in, they're paying like 20, 30, $40 to attend a ghost hunt run by a quote unquote professional team. The team will tell everyone not to whisper. And then during the ghost hunt, I watch all the ghost hunters whisper to each other. So they are really causing a lot of these voices themselves. And then there's also the problem of audio artifacts due to flawed firmware. And I say that specifically because of the item that's called the DR60. That is the top right or top left picture. The Panasonic DR60 is a small digital recorder that was released in the 90s, and it is terrible. The sound quality was worse than the old telephone system when we had wired telephones, like when we plugged in and we talked on the phone with the curly cord and we would curl it up, and some of us would, wait for our little brother to be on the phone and we pull it and snap the cord at him. That was me. But it was worse than that sound quality coming out of there. Plus the DR60 today, it used to sell, I think it was like $20 or $30 when it came out new, and that was in the 90s. Today, you can only get them on eBay, and they are considered the holy grail of ghost hunting, and they go for about $1,000. And the reason for that is because you're guaranteed to get some kind of ghostly noise, and they're always going to be growls. So the noises that people get are growling noises. And that's because the firmware in these things, when it records something, it only records when it's voice activated. You can't just hit record and have it steady record. It only records when it hears a sound and it triggers it to record. If it stops, it saves all the recording in blocks. And if it only fills up half a block in its memory, the firmware literally creates sound to bridge that gap. And that sound is usually a growl. So it was taken off the market. It was recalled because it was so flawed. But ghost hunters, instead of realizing that it's a flawed device, they say, no, that's a ghost and or demon. And yeah, they have fun with it. So another thing is audio pareidolia with any kind of recorders like this. The human brain tends to hear familiar words in random sounds. We all do it, and especially when you are expecting. If you go in with expectations and you're asking questions, you are expecting to hear a specific answer, or you're listening for a specific answer. So if somebody says, "What's your name?" Everyone is pretty much listening for a name. And if there's some kind of static or if there's friction noises or something that happened in the background that was recorded and they hear a sound, they try to interpret it as a word. Even if it's not a word, they're trying to interpret it as a word. Um, ghost hunters are heavily influenced by this kind of suggestion. And of course, priming. Because if somebody says, oh, wait, I hear Larry, then they play it again. Pretty much everyone hears Larry even if it didn't say it, even if it said something that sounds like chair, they hear Larry. So that's a big problem. And then when we look at old school versus new school, the old school recorders like the cassette player here and micro cassette and reel to reel, those had issues with internal gears. So there was a lot of internal gears that ran the tapes, and you might hear that coming over the recording itself. You might hear like a click, 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 or rise and fall of a background noise because of the gears. Modern stuff, new school recorders, most of them are digital, and you can see the lower picture here. All of those are digital recorders, and every one of them has the microphone attached to the body. So here's a little experiment. I want to, hopefully everyone's still paying attention. I want you to take your thumb and your forefinger or your pointy finger like this. I want you to hold your arm out, and I just want you to lightly rub your fingers together like this. And I guarantee you don't hear that. You're not going to hear any sound because it's too far away, it's too subtle. But now I want you to bring it up to your ear, right outside your ear, and I want you to do the same thing. You're going to hear that friction noise. Now imagine you're holding a recorder in your hand, something like, maybe if it looks like this, and you're saying, what's your name? And you're holding this, and maybe your fingers are moving and your thumb's moving. Maybe you're repositioning. That friction on that body is transferring to the microphone, which is attached to the body. And that's going to record as some kind of random noise. And that can later be interpreted as words. And I've done this. I actually did this with a gentleman that was doing a documentary. And I mentioned this, and he challenged me to demonstrate it. And I was able to do that. I actually had a video camera and I recorded my basement and I asked some questions while just repositioning my hand exactly how I would. And in one of the clips, it sounds like I asked for a name and it sounds like Mary. And it was really cool. It was really, really cool. I should really put it in this lecture because I think that would be a cool thing. So yeah, there's lots of problems with this. I usually suggest to ghost hunters to use a shock mount, some kind of shock mount like the one I have for this microphone here. It's in a shock mount, so it's any vibrations that hit the arm here won't be translated or transferred to the microphone. It'll be absorbed by the spring in there. And then, of course, this is something that goes across everything that we're talking about tonight. Without rigorous controls in place for these kind of experiments, it's impossible to prove that these EVPs or ghostly voices are caused by ghosts. And if you want more information about the DR60 thing, that link at the bottom of the page here, that goes directly to a video that I did, which is a deep dive into the technical aspect and background and history and all that of that device. Ghost boxes and spirit boxes. The common claim here is that these devices are enable spirits to communicate in real time by manipulating radio frequencies or white noise. Um, so basically, these are radios that they turn on, and I demonstrate it here for you. So this is one. It actually says Ghost Box on it, and if you turn it on, it has a radio signal. But I'm going to let it scan. Oh, hold on, I'll get it. There it goes. This is what they listen to. So while this is playing, they ask questions like, "What is your name?" Dave. I heard Dave. Uh, where did you die? Louisville. So annoying. So this is what they do. This is what they do during their EVP sessions with ghost boxes. Um, some of the issues with these, they cycle through AM and FM bands. That's what they are. They're radios that when you hit scan, instead of silencing the the radio chatter or stopping at each station and pausing for like 5 seconds until it goes to the next one, it continually goes through. And all you're getting is random fragments of radio chatter and static. And there's two things, obviously. We got pareidolia because we're hearing all this static, all this noise at the same time, and we're trying to make some kind of sense of it. So people will pick out words, even if they didn't hear them, they pick them out because by the time I say something like I heard the name Dave, it was already gone. It was already well past that station, and we can't go back and verify. So that's a big problem. And the second thing with this is that they're hearing words because they are words. They are FM stations. It's a radio. It's AM, FM. You have news, which has all things about like current events, government, sports, the weather, local news, celebrities, all this kind of stuff. But you also have music and commercials. Commercials are a big thing. I mean, you furniture commercials, plumbing commercials, how to clean your fireplace, all this stuff. You can find almost any word being said on the radio at some point, or even parts of words, because it's cycling through so fast that you might not get the entire word, and you'll get part of it, which then we interpret as something else. Expectations can influence what ghost hunters hear. So if you're listening for the answer to a specific question, you're only going to pick out names. Like if you're asking for a name, you're only listening for a name. You're not listening for furniture or the weather or anything like that. However, if you ask a question later on, like, um, what was your favorite chair? You might listen to words like corner or soft recliner, uh, the brown one, something like that. Anything that would describe a chair. So it really has to do with priming themselves, listening for what they want to hear. And then without questions, the radio is still going to spit out all these words. And that's something that most of the ghost hunters don't realize. They think that because they're in a haunted location, they're asking questions, they're doing their ghost hunting thing, that somehow their questions have more relevance and that now the random noise coming out of a radio also has more relevance. It doesn't. Plain and simple. It just doesn't. The radio is going to continue to spit out words anyway. All right. So again, I also recommend putting these in a Faraday box. If you put this in a Faraday box, a good one that's well constructed, it will shut up. It won't say anything. I'm actually looking here. I can show you. I have a Faraday bag here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll do this. Let's get a good space here. So you can hear music. And then I'm going to put it in here. Nothing. The music goes away. It's totally gone. So I would recommend getting this. And if you see ghost hunters with a radio that does that, put it in the bag, put it in the box, and then tell them to ask for questions. I guarantee you won't get an answer. All right, trying to speed along. I know we're 45 minutes. Um, I got four more slides. Obelisk, the Phasma box. These are random word generators, but the common claim is that it generates words from a database based on, quote, environmental conditions to trigger a response from a ghost. So apparently a ghost that manipulates the device can pick specific words from the dictionary to communicate with ghost hunters. So ghosts have superpowers. I didn't know if you guys know this, but apparently they have superpowers because not only can they just communicate to a recording device without a voice box or vocal cords or anything like that. They can also manipulate radios so that it plays a certain word at the exact time that you're listening for it right after you ask the question. And then now they have a random word generator that, for me, I have no idea how this picks words. I think it's just random because the environmental conditions that it says it bases the word choice off of, it doesn't. Let me put these up. It doesn't have any components inside to actually read the environmental data. It has no sensors inside of it. And it doesn't have the computing power to process that data in real time. It simply doesn't. So the only explanation that I can find is that it's completely random and it just spits out words at random. Because I've tested it with like electromagnetic fields, varying temperatures, and I should, under the test conditions, be able to make it say the same words over and over again. And it's just, it won't do it. But yeah, it's essentially a random word generator. And as you can see on two of these, the bottom two, it says for entertainment purposes only. And even this one, I don't know if you can see that. Let me see. You probably can't see it because of the light, but this is the same one that's in the left picture, the obelisk one. And if you look down um, or right below handheld paranormal device, it says for entertainment purposes only. And people still use this despite the owner saying it's just for entertainment. They still, ghost hunters. You gotta love them. The SLS camera. The common claim with this is that these devices can detect and visualize spirits as human-like stick figures, even when nothing is visible to the naked eye. They claim that spirits respond to requests, as in like wave their hands, and if the figure moves accordingly, it's seen as direct communication with spirits. So you see these two pictures. The bottom picture is showing a stick figure with green lines and green dots, green and white lines. And basically, this item is a Xbox Kinect. It's a game controller. That's what it is for the Xbox game console, and it looks at for people in the environment and says, "Okay, I see a person. I'm going to put a stick figure on them, and that's going to be a player for a game." Because Ghost Hunters didn't modify any of the software, they took it directly from the game, the Xbox games, and they started using it for ghost hunting. Basically, this uses infrared light that reflects off objects in the environment and it creates a 3D environment. It uses a time of flight, which is what we talked about with the ultrasonic sensor earlier. So it uses time of flight when the infrared light goes out, reflects off of objects in the scene, and it comes back to the camera, reads it, and it creates a 3D environment. But false positives are very common. The software tries to find anything that looks human like. So that means anything like furniture, curtains, door trim, ceiling fans, trash cans, backpacks, anything that remotely looks like a human, whether it's standing up, sitting down, bending over, whatever, it'll assign a stick figure. The two pictures here, that stick figure is on, it's a folding chair with a backpack on top of it. That's what it sees as a person, which is obviously not a person. Most of these interpretations of these stick figures being ghosts are based on beliefs and glitches because it's basically the software is not really making a mistake. It's the ghost hunters that make a mistake. When you read the directions for using this camera, it tells you that it has to be on a stable surface. And most of the time, these cameras aren't used on a stable surface. They're on a handle and people walk around with them. So that's big mistake number one because it's looking for movement. And if it sees movement, it's interpreting it as a person because the whole scene is supposed to be stationary. So if you're moving the whole camera around, everything's moving. So everything has the potential of being a person to the software. Uh, and one of the tricks with this is that because it uses infrared light to look around the environment, if it actually did see a ghost and mapped it out, it is using infrared light. So our cameras, even the camera in your phone, can see infrared light. It really, really can. I used to have a remote control here to demonstrate this. I don't have it. But if you turn the camera on your phone on, and I think this works better on Samsung and not so much on all iPhones because there's a filter in iPhones. But if you have your phone out, you turn the camera on and you point a remote control at it, you'll see the little light blink inside the remote, and that's using infrared light. That's what all the cameras can do because they can see infrared light. So by that logic, your camera should be able to see whatever spirit would be in the room because it's only being detected because of infrared light. So we don't see them. We just see the stick figures. And for more information, there is a link on the bottom that you can look into the more the tech specs of that Xbox and how it works and why it mistakes ghosts or furniture and stuff like that for ghosts. All right, last slide, I think. Maybe not. Full spectrum cameras. This is something that's out there for ghost hunters. They use them a lot. You'll hear them say, "We're going to use a full spectrum camera." And the claim is that it captures images or video of spirits invisible to the naked eye because the camera can record light outside of the visible spectrum, infrared or UV. So there's a lot of misleading information about this. Full spectrum is a false marketing gimmick because it's directed at ghost hunters. Usually ghost hunters take that as, wow, that sounds really cool. It's going to let me see so much more. But the cameras cannot see or record radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, or gamma rays, which are all part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So it's not seeing the full spectrum. It's definitely misleading. Any camera with night shot capability can see the same thing that these full spectrum cameras can see. I mean, we're going back to the Sony Handycam that was released in 1998 that removed the IR cut filter in the camera, which all of our cameras have, and it lets you see more of the infrared spectrum. And it already sees the UV spectrum too. Uh, these cameras are prone to pareidolia too, because the cameras at the manufacturer are calibrated to see visible light, to record visible light. But when you let in more UV and infrared, which are longer waves, then it's not calibrated for that and it's out of focus. So now your entire scene will be out of focus. And that's something I had to do. I actually converted I converted this camera to an infrared camera. I took the cut filter out, so it shoots in infrared. But I have to adjust the focus all the time because now the autofocus doesn't work because it's looking at these longer wavelengths and it can't focus on them. So that's always something to consider because now you have a blurry picture and pareidolia sets in because any distortion in that image can look like a face or a body or an arm or a hand or something like that. Uh, they also take long exposures. Most ghost hunters don't turn the flash on. So when they don't turn the flash on, the camera automatically takes a longer exposure. But now that it's modified and it's looking for those longer wavelengths, it takes even longer exposures. So any little movement will cause blurring all over the image. So it has to be on a stable surface. So not a great camera to use, and it has so many flaws that's why ghost hunters love it. because they love that kind of stuff. It's also important to that ghost hunters providing photographic analysis be educated in photography. Most are not, and that's something that I struggle with because most ghost hunters are picture takers, and there's a difference. Like anyone can pick up a camera and hopefully take the lens cap off and take a picture. Push the button, takes a picture. But a photographer knows the equipment, the lens, the filters, how the camera takes in light, how the light will affect the picture. Much more involved. So I always recommend ghost hunters take a photography course before they pretend to be an expert in photography. So to sum it up, most devices rely on interpretation filtered through preconceived beliefs rather than objective data, although some people do use equipment with data loggers, which is great. Many are repurposed tools being used outside of their intended context, which is most of the gadgets here. They're repurposed and then they put them in a 3D printed case, which looks really cool. And then they charge like 4 or 5 times more to ghost hunters because they want to buy them. Cognitive biases, pareidolia, confirmation bias, and the ideomotor effect play a major role in how experiences are interpreted with this equipment and without this equipment. And then the lack of controls and poor experimental design make it difficult to distinguish suspected paranormal activity from normal environmental or psychological causes. With that, here's my free plugs. With Skeptical Inquirer magazine. That's who I write for. Please subscribe if you do not already. These are some of the other programs that we have: Generation Skeptics, Science Saves. I also do a video series for the Committee for Skeptical Inquirer called Ghosts in the Machine. You can see some of the videos down there where I tackle equipment, investigations of locations. I do reviews, and then I also get even readings from psychics and stuff, which is that last one on the right. That was fun. She got everything wrong, like completely wrong. And then, of course, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, I do the Skeptical Help Bar, which is a live stream show on my YouTube channel. You can just look up my name, or you can scan the QR code. That'll take you to my author's page. And with that, I am done. I am going to stop sharing, figure it out here. All right, there we go. All right. All right. Hopefully, I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope you guys learned something. I know I talked fast, but I think I mentioned in the beginning, I do talk a lot. So I have a lot to say and a lot of information. I want to make sure you have all the information possible. So I talk a lot. So I apologize if I talked too fast or spoke too fast.
No, it was fantastic. I have a few questions here, but let's open to the audience to see if someone wants to ask a question before me,
Okay.
because I have a few. I already raised my hand. No, no one. Okay, so first, in your the start of your presentation, there's a table with lots of gadgets, lots of all those tools. Are those yours or
No.
no?
Those I go to a lot of paranormal themed conferences and I walk around and I like to see what they display. A lot of groups will go and just promote themselves, and the way they promote themselves is to fill like a 6 foot or 8 foot table with all of their gadgets.
Yeah.
And a guilty pleasure of mine is to walk up and say, "What's that do? What's that do? What's that do? How do you control against this? How do you control against that?" And I've had people tell me they have to go out for a smoke because they can't talk to me anymore. I've had people literally start crying in front of me because they couldn't answer any of the questions that I asked. Um, and then I've also had people say, F off. I don't want to talk to you. You asked
They
too many
know,
questions.
right? Yeah,
And,
they know.
like I firmly believe that if you're going to use any measuring device or any kind of equipment on an investigation, you should know what it does and how it works and how to interpret the data that's coming out of it. And if it's one of these devices, I mean, a lot of these devices, like people don't understand like what this does or how this works. All they know is that I turn it on, it lights up, it makes music, and this one never stops. Sometimes it goes off, and that's all they know. They don't bother to look into how does the sensor react, what problems are there with that sensor, if there are any, and you have to take note of it. So there's a lot that goes on like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
do have a case out here that has most of the equipment that I showed. I have my own display case out in the lobby to show off what ghost hunters use. So
yeah,
I
it's
just
what you
didn't include
mentioned.
it.
It's a picture taker versus a photographer, right? You have
Yes,
to know your equipment.
you have
Yeah,
to know.
yep,
Yeah, you have to know. I mean, anyone, pretty much anyone can pick up a camera and push the button. You point. Nowadays, it's like your phone. You turn your phone on, and you're like, oh, tap. I took a picture. That's great. For me, I want to get the composition right. I want to get the lighting right. I adjust all the settings, and that's just because I want a good picture, or I know how to do it in post. I know how to fix things in post.
yeah,
But um, knowing how light, or in most cases, especially when we're talking about this kind of stuff, the lack of light, how that affects your photographs is extremely important because you can make a ghost out of your colleagues. Any of your friends that are with you, you can make them a ghost without realizing it. And you get home and then you look at your pictures and you're like, oh wow, look at somebody. This is a transparent figure. You can see right through them. Oh, and they don't realize, it's their buddy George that just walked in front of them while they were taking a picture. So there's a lot to consider.
yep. David?
You said, sorry, minor things. You said you did some medical work at one point.
Yes,
What?
I was an EMT.
Oh,
So I worked rescue in Philadelphia, um,
thanks.
which I did for like 7 years. I did that, and then I also worked for Siemens. I was a X-ray technician, so X-ray engineer. Sorry,
Okay.
where I didn't interpret the X-rays. I worked on the machines, the angio machines, and I fixed and maintained and repaired them to keep them going. So I liked. It's not really a bragging, but I have been under a table fixing the table in an operating room while they were in the middle of an operation on somebody. So I was fully gowned up and protected, but the the doctor did something. He broke it, and I had to fix it while they had the person open on the table. So fun times.
Yes, yeah, I'm a retired medical physicist. So part of my
Oh,
job
cool.
was checking that you got it right.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was plenty of times when after a new install or a new tube, we had to put a new X-ray tube in that we'd have to wait for the physicist to come out and make sure all the
Yeah, that was
calibrations
me.
were
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
I was just curious on the infrared one. What was? Is there a a, a time? Trying to think of the right term now. The time integration, or how long does if something happens over a period of an hour, would it detect that versus a second?
Oh, so you mean
So
is there
search
like a um
time
time delay, like
time? No, not.
you know
Yeah.
um like wiggle room where you move across the scene slow enough so something won't trigger? Is that what?
Or if you're saying if the heat comes on, or
Right,
if the sunlight is warming the wall, that's a slow thing. And I'm wondering how
right.
it's just a
In my
minor technical
experience,
thing.
yeah, it's usually you have to look at the specs for each device, but usually it's between um, half a degree and 5 degrees of difference that has to be detected. So if it is half a degree, then yeah, if the sun is comes in and it's finally like on a piece of wall that's within its the field of view, then within maybe like 10 minutes or so, it'll go off. Um, so I have had that happen. Um, but any longer, I don't have the patience for it. To be honest, so I've
Oh,
never
and
tried.
and that some things happen slow don't seem like ghost things to me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you want a time constant. That's what I'm looking for. Time
Yes.
constant.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it those work with I wish I I have them out there, but they they work with two slits. So there's under that dome, there are two slits, and it looks out of both slits and it compares the scene. It compares the scene with different temperatures. So if it sees a difference between the two, um, then it triggers. I think that's how it works. Yeah. Um, so I think because it's looking through two and it's comparing the two scenes, if everything is like if the whole room raises in temperature or the whole field of view raises in temperature or lowers in temperature together, I don't think it would trigger. It would have to be one spot that changes.
Yeah, I'm probably trying to design one that would actually work,
Right,
which
right.
is perhaps a flawed approach.
I think there was
Okay.
an episode of the Mythbusters where they were trying to trick those sensors. I'm trying to remember here.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
tried to like the infrared, the thermal cameras. They were
yeah,
Yes.
trying to get past thermal
yeah,
cameras.
and
Yeah.
and they had the woman actually carrying a screen. She was hiding behind a screen, and they
Yeah.
slowly moved the
Yeah,
screen into the room, and it
Right.
never saw her. Yeah.
Right.
I think is that.
That's cool stuff. Yeah.
Jim, you're mute.
Yeah. When you were showing the ultrasound thing, I wondered, would it detect bat squeaks?
What it did, what kind of squeaks?
Your ultrasonic th thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
if there were bats flying around and trying to catch
Oh,
insects, would it
that's
would it,
interesting.
would it hear them?
The echo location. Yeah, I wonder if it would do that. It does have a frequency range,
Yeah,
so I would have to look that up. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
To see if the echolocation falls within this range.
yeah,
But again, like this is a piece of crap. I
yeah,
paid $200 for this thing, and it's like now, yeah, it's
Always
pretty good.
working.
It's working. So if I go in front of it, it goes off,
okay,
and it'll reset. But sometimes if I put it at an angle to a wall, it'll continually go.
yeah.
Or even like, see if I can do this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. So it's not pointed. It's the sensor's over here, but this will continue
yeah,
to go off.
Yeah, so
Just
that's a real crap thing. It emits a
yeah,
frequency. It should only be detecting that frequency. It should have a frequency filter, so it
yeah,
doesn't detect all those other things. It only detects
right,
its own
right.
frequency. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, that's why the representative was like, dude, they're not getting ghosts.
Even
They're
even when we are making a small Arduino projects, we use two, right? So
yeah,
you can
yeah.
you
I
can
yeah,
do
solve
have
it.
another one. A friend of mine made me one that is really nice. It's all wood and it's shaped of a coffin and it's got a clear top so you can see everything. And he has separate transmitter receiver in it. But it's still even that falls for the keys. Um, and
yeah,
it's actually better than that one. So he gave me that one for free. I think he listed the prices on the side, which was really cool. It was burned into the wood. So I think it was all together, it was maybe like $15 to make. And this cost me $200 to buy. And when you open it up, I mean the electronic board is only about like that big. The rest of this is empty. It's such a waste.
yeah. Another thought that crossed my mind was when we were talking about all this magnetic stuff, the magnetic stuff. I remembered a few decades ago working um, for a geophysics company that would uh, measure magnetic fields and have it in an airplane, fly over. And so they're interested in the variations in the magnetic field due to the magnetism of the rocks underneath.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
uh, and
It's go ahead.
yeah, so let's see, they have to keep track of any geomagnetic storms, like when the
Oh yeah.
solar wind hits the earth and it varies. Okay, so you're probably going to screw up. But I remember one uh, working with the data from one says, "Gee, there's this big lump of big spike in the magnetic field here." And okay, did it just get a glitch and it spread it out over thing? No, I looked at the map and it was the such and such penitentiary there at that
Lot,
location.
Okay.
lot of steel, cold iron.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's
Cool.
cool.
yeah.
Um, Kenny, if I were to start today as a ghost hunter, how much would I spend?
A lot. If you were like a diehard, what? You muted yourself.
So yeah, from
Oh,
what you mentioned, those devices they cost a lot. So
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this thing, this is old, but you can get newer ones for about $160 around there. This $200. The modern version of this, $500. Um, and it's just a random word generator. That's all it does. There, like I said, there's no components inside for it to measure anything. Which is I don't know how he gets away with it, except for the entertainment thing. But
Yeah.
the what else? The SLS cameras, they are in limited supply because Xbox stopped making them. But you can usually pick them up for about $200 to $300, and that comes with a tablet and the sensor itself. I pick them up at yard sales. I go out to flea markets and I usually pick them up the sensor bar for about $5, and I make my own because some of them you can plug into a laptop directly. Others you need the adapter, which I have. So, and Microsoft, you can download the software for it for free because it's open source. So that's kind of a sketchy thing because all these retailers are selling the software. So I think that's kind of sketchy. Uh, Other things, the cameras, usually you have a DVR system, so like a 10 camera or an 8 camera system.
uh,
So that's a couple $100. It can be really expensive. And like I said, like that little DR60 recorder that people love,
yeah.
which is a piece of shit. That's $1,000 if you want one of those. Luckily, I had a friend that owned one, and he let me borrow it for a week, and which I was really appreciative of because I'm like, I might break this. I don't know because I'm going to test it, but he got it back safe and sound, so it was okay. So yeah, you can, if you want to go full on, you can spend easily like $2,000 or $3,000 on this, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so hard for some of the ghost hunters to reconcile the explanations. Like when you give them the flaws, when you tell them and explain and show them, demonstrate the flaws of this equipment and that what they're getting is just a flaw, it's not a ghost. Um, it crushes them because they realize they spent all this money and it's for nothing. So some of them have that kind of backfire effect where it just makes them dig in more and they don't want to give up their belief. And it's a shame. It's a shame, but oh well.
Yeah.
Good
So
question.
there are no
Yeah.
other questions. Yo, David, are you?
I was just so you're the new Joe Nickel, are you?
Yes, I
That's your
am.
that's your. So are you writing books? Because I have
Yeah, they're all up here. Um, so yeah, Joe, I was hired almost 4 years ago, full time. Joe retired at the time, and we worked together a lot. So he came in probably once a week, sat in my office, um, kept telling me that videos were a waste of time because I was doing a lot of videos for CSI. Um, and I think he said that just because he didn't understand how to make them. Um, but he was still a good wealth of information. I mean, I really enjoyed talking to him. Um, we worked together really well. Uh, and yeah, so when he passed away last year, um, I've been in touch with his daughter, because he still has a lot of stuff here at CFI. He still has an office in the back that is filled with all his belongings, like tons of books, like books, as many books as I have back here, he still has in his office. And I have no idea what's in his apartment because that's still unresolved. There was a problem with his estate. There was a family member that was, let's say, greedy and was causing a lot of trouble. So, um, but fortunately, that's over now, and the daughter can come up and reclaim her her his stuff and bring it back down. So, anyway, that was a long story, off track. Sorry, but yeah, I replaced Joe when I came on board.
And are you writing books?
I'm getting there.
Okay,
I'm trying. It's
because
I'm
like Joe, I'm old school. I like books.
okay.
So,
I love reading books. I have I have been trying to write a book, but my duties here keep me busy. Because I'm writing articles for Skeptical Inquirer, also for the newsletter for Free Inquiry. I'm also I'm one of the main writers for the gallery museum that we're opening in a few months because we're renovating a big part of the building down here and putting in a free thought and skepticism gallery down there. And most of the stuff, probably half of it, is based on pseudoscience, and most of it I wrote and have collected the artifacts for. So, and I also produce videos. I have the whole video series for CSI that I do. Um, so when
yeah,
I,
no,
I
the modern world, you need to be video. I agree with you there.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
happen to like books myself.
I do
Uh,
too, and I have been working on. I think I can, and I think I can tell you guys. Stephen Hupp, who is my who is our
is
new
the editor?
editor. Yeah, um, his next book, I'm collaborating with him on. I'll be one of the editors mentioned because I wrote 2 chapters for that,
Okay.
um, and that's hopefully once I get done that and PsyCon is over because PsyCon is again another big project. And then also I'll show you this whiteboard over here that has 25 projects that I'm currently working on, and not one of them is a book. So that's squeezing in between. But I really do want to eventually get one done because I have two in the works. I need to make time for it.
Yeah.
That's my
Maybe
problem.
maybe you can get a ghost secretary to use the old-fashioned word processor behind you.
That
Oh,
would be
a ghostwriter, obviously.
yeah, obviously.
Yeah, you should have the book project in mind and start writing all those articles and everything else related to your book
Yeah.
uh, focus, and then you can join now all of them later and make a book of all of
You
them.
know, Barry Carr, who retired this year, he was my boss, and he kept bugging me. He's like, just put your articles together and just do a book. And Joe kept saying that all the time, like, just put
Yeah,
your
well,
articles together.
that's what he did. Some of
Yeah,
these are
that's what he
collection
did.
of his
You
columns.
you
Yeah.
And
you
you know
curate
what?
your articles, yeah.
I don't agree with that. I feel cheap if I do that because they're already out there. Even if I add a little bit more, I've already put them out there in the public, and I don't want to just recycle stuff that I've already done. And I'd rather put new content out. Um, so, like the two books, I have a book that I self-published like 20 years ago on uh, photography, um, false photography, like what makes a ghost photo. And I explained all the different techniques that I could think of that would be presented as like this is a ghost in a photo and explaining how it's all done. I've rewritten that to a point where I'm almost done, but I'm not. And then I have another book that was investigative techniques. So it's my strategies for solving mysteries and how I do it. And again, like I've written a good part of it because that's one of my part of my lectures where I do like most of my lectures take like 5 or 6 of the strategies, which I think I'm up to like 36 now. Um, and explains them. So I have a lot of it written out. I just have to put it in chapter form. And again, I need the time to do it.
It's, well, it's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would be writing books and stuff, right? Well, I have another one here. Don't they realize when you mentioned the full spectrum camera? Don't they realize if it were a full spectrum camera, they wouldn't see pretty much anything because it would be all blurry, right? Just in radio waves that they would be seeing, it would be crazy, right? There's
No,
no
that
critical thinking there at all.
no, that there's a lot of taking things at face value. And that's when it's presented, it's like, hey, here's a full spectrum camera. Your camera can only see visible light. This lets you see infrared and ultraviolet. And it's really cool because ghosts, you can only see them in infrared and ultraviolet. So that's the mentality. Like most ghost hunters, not all of them, but many of them will hear that and think that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's because I can't see infrared. That's probably where the ghosts are. So I want to get this camera
Yeah.
and I want to do this because not only do they have the marketing, but they see the TV shows. They watch the ghost hunting TV shows, and the ghost hunters on those shows will mention it. They use it. They show pictures on screen of, look, we got this mysterious figure down this hallway. And it's not. It's just one of their crew members. So the people see that and they want that. And it's almost like the old saying about keeping up with the Joneses. Like they ghost hunters that are starting out or are just have been in it but only do local places, they see the TV shows and they want to be like their TV stars. They want to be like the celebrities they look up to. So they want to buy this stuff and they will spend the money. Um, there's a gadget. I'll show you real quick. Hold on a second.
I love this guy.
So this is a ghost hunting gadget. I don't know if it works. No, I gotta put a battery in it. So it's called a Elite Spirit Stick motion sensor. It's got there's your passive infrared sensor up there with the white clearish dome. And these, you can get a pack of these. I think I got a pack of 5 for $12, maybe. All right. So this is a PVC pipe that you get at Home Depot or some kind of store like that with an LED strip of lights wrapped around it all the way up top. This is a basic craft box that you can get, like a hobby box, and there's a battery component inside, some wiring, and alarm. A friend of mine saw this at a ghost hunting conference. There was a whole bunch of them, different colors, all lighting up. Looks really cool. $120 for this thing. I kept telling her, please don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's not worth it. I'm looking at it. I know what the sensor is. I've used them before. Don't buy it. It's cheap. She couldn't do it. She had to go over and buy it. So she spent $120. And then a week later, I sent her a picture of this, which I made. Almost the same thing. Does mine work? Does it have a battery in it? No. Same sensor up top. Well, mine's longer, but size doesn't matter. LED strip around it, different kind of box, and the electronics inside are basically a battery box, and there's an alarm in there somewhere, and an on-off switch. This cost me, I think it was $12 to make, and it took me a half hour to put everything together. So I sent her pictures. I made a video on it, and last year, I met up with her again, and she's like, you know what? You were right. I'm going to listen to you from now on. And then she gave me this. This was the one that she bought because she didn't want it anymore.
Yeah. So that infra that's fairly near infrared. Let's see, thermal infrared. You'd need
Right.
something like special cooling to bring it below well below room temperature.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. These are just cheap things. Like I said, like 5 of these things, and they this is for the LED strip. This I really think it's like $5 or $6 for a pack of 5. It wasn't that much at all. They're pretty cheap, and they're the same ones that I see on any kind of Halloween decorations. I used one. I have a doll. It's a like a nice old vintage doll that's on a stand that's out there, and I put the LED strip all around her dress. So when you walk by the doll, the whole dress lights up.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so it freaks out visitors. I love when people come here and it lights up and they're like, what the hell is going on? But because I was just having fun. I was like, I have all these extra parts. Like, what am I going to do with them now? Let me build something. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen these pictures that uh, uh, just use the near infrared and vegetation uh, reflects the near infrared.
yes.
Uh, so it's all looks very white.
Yeah. Yeah. These things, like I said, they're cheap. They can be triggered from like 20 feet away or something, but you get about 21 feet away and you can walk by it. It won't go off.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, they're fun. They're fun.
yeah, and
It's,
then
it's
yeah, and then of course astronomers are basically look at the sky in uh, every wavelength they can get an instrument to
Yeah.
work at. There's different things in the sky radiate at different wavelengths. Uh,
right.
so,
Yeah.
and then
Cool.
and a lot of them they have to put the sensor above the atmosphere because it gets absorbed by the
Yeah.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah. X-rays, for example.
Yeah.
David?
So um, I'm going to challenge. No, I won't. I was going to challenge Jim, but I won't. There's a huge difference between the commercial one and yours. Yours, the LEDs are left-handed, and theirs, they're right-handed. You can see
Um,
There's
yeah, you're right.
chiropractic.
You are right. I did spin them up in different
spun the other
directions.
way.
Yeah,
There you go.
Uh,
I wanted to make sure mine was
uh,
separate from theirs.
circular polarization.
Yeah.
That's a thing. That's a thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
uh, any more questions, guys?
Well, I was kind of
Uh,
puzzled as so the single axis magnetometer. What's why was that ever developed? It's not for ghosts, but who would want a single axis magnetometer? What good is it?
I think it's
Uh,
a cheap way because I do see um what are they? They're more like new age kind of sites that sell them because they want you to go through your house and
Yeah,
see
I'm just
where
wondering who
right.
what the original was there an original use before ghost people got into it?
I I I no, I don't know. I
I
know the early ones, there was a one called Dr. Gals, but then the K2 meter,
yeah.
this one was made by without the spikes. But this one was made by a company that made pet collars, um, like shock collars and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they made this as a cheap version, and somebody got a hold of it and started selling it for $50. And it's a push button light up with a range. It doesn't actually give you an accurate reading. It just gives you a range
Mhm.
of milligauss um, per color. I put the spikes in there to demonstrate to people what I mean by the 3 axes.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
smart.
Spin them like that, and that blows people's minds. Honestly, when I go to like paranormal conferences and I'm like, "This, do you know what you should do with this? This is what you're supposed to be doing," and they're like, "What? No, no, I don't have to do that." Dude, read a book.
yeah.
Can you just hold that up to the camera again for just
Yeah.
I'm trying to read the milligauss. How
Oh,
many milligauss is it claiming?
uh,
One,
so it goes.
five?
The first slot is 0 to 1.5. Then the next is, let's see, 2.5 then 10, then 20 plus.
Now let's see.
That's nuts because the Earth's field is at least 500
Okay, let's see.
milligauss. So
Let's see. Let's see. When I was doing the magnetic field stuff, like Canadian latitudes, Earth's magnetic field is roughly 50 micro Tesla, and I can't remember the conversion factor for Tesla to Gauss.
yeah, it's half a Gauss.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then there was
No, I don't understand. There's a factor of 100.
there was a rule of thumb with these things where, especially because if people were using this, and the Dr. Gals one, I don't no, I don't have that with me. The Dr. Gals unit, which was the popular one back in the late 90s when I was doing ghost hunting, it had a scale similar to this, but it had a green, yellow, red. And green was 1 to 3, yellow was 3 to 7, and then 7 to 10 was red. And the rule of thumb among ghost hunters was that if you got anything between 3 and 7, that meant ghost. That's it. Didn't matter like if you moved it closer to the source and it went up, or you moved it further away. Didn't matter. If you got in the yellow zone, that was a ghost. And that seemed to stick. That was a tribal knowledge kind of thing where I still hear people say it today, where it's like, oh, well, it was like 5 milligauss. So, that was activity. I'm like, did you bother moving the meter closer to the source? Well, no. Why? It was a ghost. And then I stopped the conversation because it's not worth going.
Well, if you move it and the reading goes up, it means you're getting closer to the ghost.
Right.
I think they should be chasing the ghosts around the room.
Yeah. But
Obviously.
Yeah. By the way, the sort of use of the magnetometers, like when I was working with that, the standard was it was sort of the inverse of a MRI using a known frequency and to figure out what the field was, and that gave you sort of the total magnetic field without telling you what the direction was.
Okay.
And but I think before and after it was easy it was easier to use something that just measured the field in one direction, and sort of Canadian
Right.
latitudes, you the magnetic field is mostly near vertical, so you'd put it you'd fly around with it set up to measure the vertical component.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, people do use them. I use the 3-axis magnetometer, and the fields I was measuring were a few milligauss, and it's difficult to measure fields that small. That's why I think there's something fundamentally wrong with what they're talking about. There's something besides the things you've already said, there's something else wrong.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. No. I used to do magnetic resonance. Anyway, that's a story for another time when you're
Yeah.
Let
Cool.
me just show the final slides here, and then we can continue the conversation later. I hope it's the right one here. Just to finish. So if you want to contact the speaker, and don't mind writing this or anything, because I'll post these on the video description, so you guys can find Kenny whenever you need.
Okay.
For our next webinar, we'll have Dr. Ronnie Schmaltz, our friend from WeCanReason last year, and a great psychologist, and he has lots of great experiments, and he'll be talking to us about things that go bump in your brain, the psychology of hauntings. And will be April 22nd at 7 p.m. now in our daylight savings time. Yeah, I think it's going to be great, this one. This guy is fantastic. Well, this year we have our We Can Reason conference, so just let me show you a quick video about it. So it's our fourth edition, and it's going to be great again. Just a comment that Greta Vosper is not participating anymore. Last week, for some reason, she had to uh, cancel, and we booked Sheng Tsai. He's already in our website, We Can Reason website, and he has a very interesting life story. And I think everybody that will be at the conference will love his presentation. Finishing here, help us spread the word. We have two websites, as you guys probably know, the RockyMountainAtheist.ca and WeCanReason.com. We have our social media in both websites. Of course, the Rocky Mountain Atheist has a focus on secularism and atheism. So it's a little more political, and We Can Reason is more focused on science and critical thinking. So if you have any issue sharing atheistic content, you can go to We Can Reason and share its content, because I assure you that the atheistic presence is very minimal, almost non-present, especially in our LinkedIn channel. We also have a Facebook group, the Rocky Mountain Atheist private group. It's private, so you guys can share your posts and everything, not worrying about anyone else seeing them. Okay, and the group is growing, and I'm very happy that this month we gathered a few more members, so it's good to see it growing. In all our websites, you can find the donate and become a member buttons. So please consider helping us by becoming a member. It's just $20 per year, 20 Canadian dollars. So it's even cheaper. And donations for any amount. And it helps us if you subscribe to our emails, of course. We just send 2 emails per week, one from We Can Reason, one from Rocky Mountain Atheists, and we have our monthly newsletter. So please help us spread the word. This is very important. We have here in Calgary our Skeptics in the Pub. It's one of our in-person events every third Friday, 7 p.m. And we are having it at the Limericks Traditional Public House at McLeod Trail. It's very nice. Sorry?
Is that third Friday of the month? Because I don't.
Every third Friday of the month, yes.
Oh, okay. Every third Friday of the month, not
The month, yes.
not 3 weeks apart.
No. It's the third Friday of the month. Yeah. And we are having presentations constantly. Yes, David, sorry?
Sorry, I think you need to clarify that, because that's very confusing. Sorry.
Third Friday of third Friday.
Third Friday of every month.
Friday of the month. Yes.
Yes.
So just go to. Yeah.
I understand. I know what it is, but that slide is wrong.
Oh, okay. So I'll change it for next time.
Yeah, it makes it sound like it's every 3 Fridays.
Yes.
Oh,
which would be fun, but that's not what it is.
But that's too much. No, but I'll fix it for next presentation. Especially because now we have another in-person event that's the Thriving Without Religion. We started in January. This is the second Monday of the month, and this one is more clear there, right? And it's at the Congress Coffee Company. We closed the coffee, so it's just for us, but it's open. So it's a little bit different from our Life Without Religion. That's a support group, right? And it's anonymous, and you need to be approved to join. This one is open. Anyone can go to the to Congress Coffee and participate. And it's been very successful too, and hopefully it will keep going. It's a very nice event. And my presentation is taking almost as long as the speakers, because we are doing a lot of stuff. right? And it's a lot of work, but
It's good
it's
though.
nice.
It's good.
And any more questions? Anyone wants to ask Kenny anything?
I want to thank Kenny for doing this. This was great.
Wow, Kenny,
Yes,
it's
Thank you.
thank you.
fantastic. Yeah, we
Thank
love you, man. When you went there to pick up your sticks, I said, yeah, no, I love it. As much
Yeah,
as we can consume your content, yeah, it's great.
I love doing it, and I love being able to talk to people from all over the place. I mean, this is
Yeah.
great that we can do this,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
Would your devices detect those ghostly hands?
yeah. Uh, all right,
Eh,
so I'm
So,
out then. Oh,
sorry, I did
go
have
ahead.
one other thing. What's you were talking about all the museum or displays and so on. What city are you in there?
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo. Okay, and that's
Yeah,
where the conference
Buffalo, New
is
York.
in June.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So this is where our headquarters are, uh, in Buffalo, New York. It's been here since uh 1980s.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started in 76, but yeah, in the 80s they bought the farmhouse. That's way down the end. Then they added on to that, then they added on to that, and then they added on to that. So we're renovating the first add-on. The farmhouse is still there. We haven't done anything with that. I'm actually slowly taking it over because I've commandeered different offices so that because I love cameras. I have a full collection. I have probably like 500 to 600 cameras now,
Wow.
vintage from like 1900 all the way up to present day, both video, 8 millimeter, and still cameras. Um, but I take over and I put my equipment down there. So I'm good with keeping the house, but then that in between part, we're renovating the entire area where Joe Nickel used to have his office. Um, that is becoming a huge gallery, and we're going to be covering religion, critical thinking, free thought, pseudoscience, and something else. I forget the sixth cat or the next category. There has been so much. We've been doing this for the last 6 months, um, easily planning this, writing this, rewriting, editing, making sure panels are right, getting artifacts to demonstration. We're going to have little stations for you to be an investigator, mostly for kids, but for adults too, because I'm a big kid. Um, where you can try something for yourself and see how something works. So it's been really, really involved. And myself and Tim Binga, who is our librarian here, we're the people that are on the committee for all this design and writing, but we're the only two that are here at headquarters. So all the construction going on is we oversee it, and we have to deal with the architect and the workers and the planners, the designers, and now the fabricators. And that's why I don't have a book yet. Because
And
that's
you have to
just
finish the Medusa.
yeah, oh, yeah, the Medusa. I
Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
that's I just got the snakes in for the top, so hopefully this weekend I'll be able to work on it. But I was working on I don't know if you saw this, but I did work on my new booth. So when I go to paranormal conferences, I usually purchase a booth so I can set up my skeptical help bar. So I set that up, and it usually breaks the tension because I'm surrounded by a lot of believers. And when they see that, they recognize what that stand is from, and they laugh, and then they come over and talk to me, and it's not so confrontational, which is nice. It's a nice way to approach it. Um, so
So
yeah, I did that, and other projects. It's never done. There's always something going on here. So
That's
yeah.
cool. That's cool.
yeah,
So
Kenny,
does
thank you
the
very much. It was lovely seeing you here again. And
thank
hopefully
you
you
very much.
come back, please.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I will
One of
invite
these
you
days,
again.
one of these years, I'm going to get out there for
Oh
your
yeah.
conference.
Actually, people don't realize, but it's a lot of work, right? Your presentation
Yeah,
and dealing with these webinars. I have them booked until January now. So you only have
good.
February 2027 on.
Oh,
So
good,
it's good.
good
Yeah.
job. Good, cool.
Things are
All
going
right.
nice. Thank you very
Thank you
much, Ken.
again. All
Have a
right.
good
Take it
night.
easy, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.